Welcome to the Media Bubble Podcast. It's the podcast that talks about all geeky media. I'm Karol, and he's Fredrik. Let's get this show on the road.
Yeah, and let's get Smurfy too. Because I'm going to make an episode about the Smurfs. Specifically the 1981's cartoon show, as that's kind of where I have known the Smurfs from. And things like that. I'm not exactly sure why I want to make an episode about the Smurfs, to be honest. It's kind of always just been a show that has existed and that I have kind of enjoyed, and I guess I kind of kept enjoying it because I don't know, I like the premise, I guess.
I mean, it's a very chill show. Okay, not chill, but it's also something that I feel we could be talking about because it's something from the childhood.
It's not even top 20 in my favorite cartoon shows, but I'm going to talk about it because I just feel like it, and I thought that we could start with before we get to the cartoon show, which this episode is really about. I just thought that we would talk a little bit about the creation of Smurfs. The Smurfs was created by Peyo, who is a Belgian comic book artist, I guess, who created a series called Joanne M. Peewit, which is
okay,
and that series is significant in the way because in one of the comic books that he wrote, the Smurfs was featured in, and that comic is called La Flûte à Six Schtroumpfs. Excuse my French, because I can't speak French, so I'm going to say the title in English. The Smurfs and the Magic Flute, which is it was first a comic book in 1958 that Johan MP would visit the Smurf village to find this magical flute, and that same story was in 1976 made into a movie. I haven't really watched the movie, to be honest, but it exists. And one thing that I also can mention about my growing up with the Smurfs is I own one comic book with the Smurfs, which is called The Flying Smurf. But I can't remember ever reading it in my childhood, but I own it, so I guess I should have done that at some point. But to the thing that we're going to talk about, the 1981's the Smurfs cartoon show, which was created by Hanna-Barbera. It was created by Hanna-Barbera, and apparently Peyo didn't really want to make to have the Smurf be Americanized, so he apparently served as a kind of a supervisor of the show, so it doesn't go in a direction that he doesn't want. And if I'm going to explain the Smurf in some way, it's kind of a medieval show with or they are in medieval times, and the Smurfs are kind of 3 apple feet high and live in this village together, a sibling and a Papa Smurf. It's kind of a medieval show in the way of a different...
It's fantastical and medieval.
Yeah,
because there's plenty of magic involved.
Magic and dragons sometimes appears, and mystical lands and things like that. Which I kind of always liked medieval shows. I just find the premise of them fun for some reason. So,
yeah, I mean, I can see the appeal as well. It's whimsical, it's fun, it's colorful, it's a little bit of the ordinary.
It has knights, dragon, magic.
Yeah. I mean, as a D&D nerd, I also appreciate the setting. Like, if you think about it, you could probably make a D&D adventure about the Smurfs.
Yeah. Oh, should we, Karol?
I might make a D&D adventure about the Smurfs.
Okay. But if we go to the next slide, Karol.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to talk. One of the big things about the Smurf is that there exist 99 Smurfs in a village, and each individual Smurf is supposed to have a different personality trait, which they kind of are named after too. Papa Smurf, who we see on the top left, who has the red hat and the white beard, he's kind of the father of the whole village. I guess every one of the 98 other Smurfs are his children, I guess, in some way.
Yeah, like, if we're on the topic of children, has it been ever explained how Smurfs, like, how is there more of them?
I don't know. Probably something to do with magic.
Or mitosis. I'm gonna bet on mitosis, though.
I don't know. Maybe there existed a Mama Smurf at some point, but not on the show at least.
Tragic backstory.
Let's see. I'm going to explain 10 of the more popular Smurfs, 10 of the more significant Smurfs on, let's see, on the cartoon show. We have Clumsy Smurf, and he is, as his name impels, is kind of clumsy, a little bit dumb sometimes, but he has a heart in the right place. We have Smurfette, who is the only girl in the village, which there is a reason for why she is the only girl in the village.
I mean, she was created by Gargamel, right?
Yeah, I was going to get to that later, but yeah, she was created by the evil wizard Gargamel, and later on, because she was supposed to be a spy at first, but she really grew to like the Smurf. So Papa Smurf used some magic and made her into a real Smurf. And Smurfette has kind of an ordinary personality, I would say.
She's girl.
Yeah.
She's a girl.
She has the personality of a girl.
Which is not much, but I mean, it stands out amongst like the hordes of men.
Yeah, it's kind of it was always kind of a trope in older shows where they have like 5 characters, and one of those 5 characters was a girl, and she has the personality of a girl, while the other 4 boys had unique personalities.
But at the same time, if they introduced Smurfette too, I feel like she would fall into the same trap of being girl.
Well, they have introduced a lot of new girl Smurfs in the newest series. I have noticed that.
They have?
Yeah, there exists a new the Smurf series that apparently started airing in 2021.
I have to check that out, just out of curiosity.
Yeah, and then we have Hefty Smurf, and his kind of personality trait is that he's really strong. I like it. He likes to train and run, I guess, and be brave, or something like that. And then we have Greedy Smurf, who is well enough my favorite Smurf. And the weird thing about Greedy Smurf in this cartoon is he doesn't really exist anywhere else, because Greedy Smurf in this cartoon is a combination of 2 different Smurfs. One called Chef Smurf and one called Grady Smurf. And Grady Smurf in the comics usually stole Chef Smurf's food, which made Chef Smurf angry. But in this cartoon he has combined into one character who can cook and likes to eat a lot of his own cooking.
I think it's maybe better because there's only so much you can play a same joke. And individually they didn't have much to do, really. But if you follow my mitosis theory, we'll get deep into Smurf lore. So they split, and from one being became 2, and they're both his sons.
Oh. Wow, how Smurfy.
Mm.
Oh yeah,
Smurftastic.
yeah. One thing also with the Smurf is that they, for some reason, says the word Smurfs all the time in normal sentences. Like,
Yeah.
oh, it was just such a Smurfy day.
Well, I'm gonna smurf you all over if you don't
Yeah.
stop smurfing right now.
Let's see. We have. I have forgotten his English name.
Grump?
We have Grumpy Smurf. Thank you, Carol. We have Grumpy Smurf, who is always grumpy. He is never really happy, and he always kind of has a catchphrase of saying, "I hate this thing."
That's me for real.
And then, and then we have Handy Smurf, who he is really handy. He he, he usually creates a lot of different inventions. We have Lazy Smurf, who is really lazy. We have Brainy Smurf, who is annoying. That's kind. Or what? How do you feel about Brainy Smurf, Carol?
You know what? So you kind of send me an episode just to like.
Wait. We are getting to that episode later. Excuse me.
I
Uh,
think he's a horrible. He's a horrible little man.
he always kind of is an annoying Smurf, and he was that in the comic. But apparently, from what I can understand, the cartoon version of him is even more annoying.
I mean, as you said, we're getting to the episode, and it's a big part of my perception of him.
And then we have Vanity Smurf, who is probably my least favorite Smurf of them all. He's kind of a Smurf who just enjoys looking at himself. He finds himself really beautiful.
So in Polish, his name is Lalush, which is a little bit more sweet. Like not vanity smurf, just like oh, like it's like a sweet nickname.
Mm.
And he's just the same. He's also vain, but I don't know. I kind of stan. Like he knows he's serving it.
Mm. In Swedish, Papa Smurf is called Gammal Smurf, who in direct translation is Old Smurf.
I mean, yeah. Plus, I mean, in Polish it would be Papa Smurf. So the yeah, it will be still Daddy Smurf.
Oh, Daddy Smurf.
You know, he's kind of a silver fox with his beard going on like that.
Yeah, he has something that the Smurfs doesn't.
Yeah, the red clothes. Anyway,
Well,
moving on.
there exist other Smurfs too, like Painter Smurf, Poet Smurf, Dreamy Smurf. The list goes on, but yeah. And if we go to the next slide, I'm going to explain the Smurf that I grew up with from my childhood, because the original 80 show didn't really air when I was a kid, but my two brothers had gotten two VHS tapes, which apparently had 5 episodes of the Smurfs show in it. So 10 episodes in total with each VHS tapes. And before, when I was starting to get information about this episode, if I'm being honest, I could just remember me watching 3 episodes. But when I started to watch these episodes again for this episode, something that I noticed was it's kind of like something that happened where it was kind of like, do you know that feeling when you can't really remember something, but but if you look at a photograph of that thing, you kind of suddenly or like, oh yeah, that happened.
Yeah, I can relate.
So that was kind of me watching 7 of these episodes. But if we're going to start with the first VHS tape, which in Swedish is called the Magical Smurf Porridge, which contains 5 episodes, and the first episode is Greedy and the Porridge Pot, which
Okay.
there a nice fairy gives greedy Smurf a castrol or
Castrol, you mean like a pot?
a pot.
It's in
Yeah,
the name.
it's in the name. Oh, excuse me. Uh, a pot that can magically make porridge, and it just keeps making porridge and doesn't stop until Grady tells the pot to stop in some specific words of his. But because this porridge becomes so popular because how much he can produce, every Smurf wants to have some porridge from him, and it gets kind of annoying for him because always comes Smurfs into his house when he's trying to cook other things. And apparently his breaking point was when Brainy Smurf came in, and Brainy Smurf didn't react that positively to him not getting some porridge, and he feels like Grady was kind of selfish. So Brainy has the idea of taking a similar looking pot and color it in the same color as him, and switch the porridge magical cut with his pot.
What an asshole.
Yeah, so
What a literal Smurf bag. I hope he smurfs his last Smurf.
yeah. So while this happens, Greedy is wanting some porridge, and there doesn't come anything from this pot because it's the wrong pot. So Greedy gets stuck in this magical pot, and he's kind of is losing his way because he can't see anything because he has the pot on his head, and he's kind of traveling around the forest and is lost at this point. And at the meantime, Brainy is telling the magical words about of how to start the porridge. But the trouble is, he doesn't know the words to end the porridge pot. So it just keeps making porridge, and it becomes so big that it kind of starts becoming a river in the Smurf village.
Jesus, a porridge village, a porridge river. Smurfs up with that.
And so they have to find the greedy Smurf, while at the same time Greedy is in a river, and gets found by the fairy who wants the pot back because he wants to feed some hungry human orphans. And the episode kind of ends with Greedy coming back to the Smurf village, tells the words. Brainy gets to clean up all the porridge that has come out.
So what I see is that this fairy is giving away cool pots and then taking them away, and I feel like that's not okay.
No.
Really not okay. Like, why give the gift if you're just gonna take it away?
Yeah. That's something that you can smurf about.
I'm smurfing mad.
Okay, then we have smurfing in a sign language, which introduces Gargamel has some kind of magical book where he kind of can read some different formulas, and this time he uses a formula to make Poet Smurf quiet. And Poet Smurf kind of uses his word to express himself, usually. But now he can't do that because Gargamel has made him quiet. So Papa Smurf calls in Laconia, who knows sign language, who kind of teaches the village how to use sign language because she can't talk.
That's pretty cute, actually. Like, accessibility, yay.
I I can also mention that every episode that apparently are in these two VHSs are apparently from season 3 of the Smurfs show. Because there existed 9 seasons.
That's a lot of Smurfing to watch.
Mm. Then we have Baby Smurf is Missing, which kind of explains itself by the title there. Baby Smurf gets missing and every Smurf is trying to find him.
Okay, quick question. Why Baby Smurf and who's Baby Smurf?
Well, I can get to that later if you want to, Karol.
Who made the little baby?
As I can say, I can get to that later, but in this episode there's two evil men who takes Baby Smurf and thinks that he can find some gold for them. So I just remember this episode about there being a march where every Smurf is holding like a spear, and they're just marching to get Baby Smurf.
Well, I'd do the same if I was in their position.
Yeah. Then we have the episode that I remember the least of every episode, the littlest witch, which if apparently a witch who is going witch school doesn't really know how to be evil. So when she kind of uses magic, she uses magic for the purpose of good, but she doesn't understand what is good. So Papa Smurf kind of explains to her how to use her magic, while at the same time her witch teacher is trying to get a hold of Papa Smurf. Because Papa Smurf can use magic.
And she doesn't want any competition.
I guess so.
That's evil.
And then we have one episode that I actually did remember. The Smurfstone Quest. So Papa Smurf has broken his foot, and to fix his foot, he reads about a crystal that has healing powers. So he gets 3 Smurfs, Hefty, Handy, and Lazy Smurf, to go into this cave to find the crystal. The only problem is that cave has some kind of monster creatures in them, which the Smurfs find. And how that whole conflict ends is with Lazy Smurf really snoring really high in the cave, so he scares the monsters away.
Alright. Quick question. Why ask Lazy Smurf to do anything? He's lazy.
The Smurfs, when Papa Smurf was picking out Smurfs, he selected the Smurfs that hold their hand up high, and when Lazy Smurf kind of does this,
Stretch.
You know when you stretch to when you're really tired. He kind of puts his hand up then, so he kind of gets picked to do the mission.
Whoops.
It ends fine with him, but yeah, it's kind of a lazy Smurf episode of, I guess, him proving himself useful. And then we have April Smurfs Day, which is a short about April 1st, where a lot of Smurfs makes jokes on each other, which Brainy finds annoying. And apparently at the same time, Gargamel has a new idea of disguising himself as a bush and kidnap the Smurfs. And
why as a bush of all things?
I don't know. I guess it's the perfect disguise.
Amazing.
So he kidnaps a lot of different Smurfs, and he apparently is going to cook them to make gold out of them. How that kind of ends is that Papa Smurf finds a lot of birds who likes eating the berries on that specific bush. So when the birds chase Gargamel away. Let's see. Then we have the magical stick. Papa Smurf has a magical stick that can make things disappear, which Clumsy then gets a hold of. And he loses the stick, and then later on in the episode they find the stick again. So yeah.
Whoops.
And then we have Born Rotten, and I didn't really remember this episode that much as well, but apparently the Gargamel sends the Smurf village an egg which Papa Smurf doesn't recognize, but apparently the egg has a creature that is really smelly. That's kind of weird why they are wearing the masks on the picture.
So what you're saying is this is not the 2020 special.
No, it's not the Corona episode.
Damn.
It's just that apparently the creature is really smelly, and so they try to so they bade him to try to make him smell better, but at the same time Gargamel is kind of trying to find that smell to find the Smurf village. So he's kind of trying to find this rotten smell, which Papa Smurf later gets a hold of and chase Gargamel away again, and later on they reunite the creature with his kind.
What kind of creature is this? Is this like a dragon or what is it?
It's
like a lizard? A snail?
It's probably more closer to a dragon in that point. A dragon with fur, I guess, but it isn't really. Isn't really a creature that exists outside the Smurfs, I guess.
Okay, so the next episode, the Smurf Fire Brigade. There's fire, right?
Yeah, they Papa Smurfs understand the danger of having of fire, so he start a contest of the Smurf that can come up with the best solution to fire problems, and Handy creates this water spraying machine, which is kind of supposed to be a fire truck. And at the same time Gargamel is kind of mixturing with the river, so they can't really get water, but
does he set fire to the village? Please say he does.
There comes fires to the village, and so the Smurfs has to use Handy's new machine to get rid of the fire, but Gargamel has stopped the river from going, so that's another problem that they have. And then we have every picture Smurfs a story, which is also the VHS cover that you see there. And what that episode is, that Painter Smurf finds a castle where an old where a painter is trapped in a painting.
Yeah.
And he gives Painter Smurf his specific colors to use. And so Painter Smurf uses those colors, and when he's painting, the thing he's painting disappears after he has painted it, and so he starts to paint Papa Smurf, and Papa Smurf gets into the painting while the painter has gotten out of the painting, because apparently that's kind of a reverse thing of if a character gets into the painting, he can come out of the painting.
So someone need to take his place.
Yeah.
Right.
So later on, they are trying to get a hold of his colors, and Painter Smurf is are trying to paint this painter, and eventually they succeed and get Papa Smurf back. So these were the 10 Smurf episodes which I grew up with, and which I kind of know the Smurfs from. I didn't really watch much more episodes than this. But
for me,
Karol has watched one episode.
Yeah, well, I mean, first and foremost, I'm familiar with the Smurfs since there has been a lot of reruns on the Polish television when I was young. So even though I wasn't like actively watching them, I was still like absorbing the Smurfs. But nevertheless, about the episode that Fredrik made me watch, it was quite good, and it was about fascism and the right that you should mobilize and you should rise your own militia to overthrow the unjust government.
The episode is called King Smurf.
Yeah. Okay, so jokes aside, this episode follows our main character. No, so Papa Smurf is on the way, and he tasks the Smurfs to finish up building a dam. Nevertheless, what's his name? Smart Smurf?
Brainy Smurf.
So Brainy Smurf comes up with his wonderful idea that since Papa Smurf is gone, is his time to seize the power, and that he will instruct the Smurfs. Since he's being left out, he he begins to control the media by
He crowns himself to King Smurf.
Exactly, and he hires Poet Smurf to spread his propaganda amongst the populace. Soon enough, there comes his followers, and he gathers a powerful military force to control the Smurfs. As he is an unjust ruler, he begins to throw in jokesters and people who criticize him in jail. As an answer to this, Smurfette has organized an underground militia to save Jokester Smurf. Do you hear what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying. I chose this episode for you.
And as they are trying to escape with Jokester Smurf, they run away safely. But what happens is the Smurfs begin to build a wall to keep the Smurfs in and the bad Smurfs out. And then we have a full out on war as the Smurfs are approaching the walls and scaling them as they're being pelted with red colored fruit, and it looks like they're covered in blood. And hot glue is poured on the poor Smurfs as they're climbing the walls. And they're stuck and they can't get out. And there's just a goddamn revolution going on, and Papa Smurf is coming back like, hey, like,
what about the river?
Like, what about the river? Have you seen the meme from Community where one of the characters is coming back with pizza, and he's like looking at everything and it's just like fire, fighting?
Yeah, I have seen that.
That's just Papa Smurf for me.
What have you been doing?
Like, what have you been doing? We're about to freaking die, and you're trying to be king. So they fix up the dam, and they Smurf up the Brainy Smurf with a guillotine. Oh wait, that's just my cut of the episode.
Well, I kind of wanted you to have something to say in this episode, and I kind of just remembered this episode, and I thought, that could probably be fun for Karol to watch.
I mean, I'm up for government uprising. Hell yeah! Like, as Smurfette did, take up action.
But I gotta be honest, I didn't remember that wall, to be honest.
I was cry laughing when they say, oh no, they're building a wall to keep the Smurfs in. I'm just like, oh no, we had this in real life.
You can't build a wall now without you thinking of that.
Yeah, it's been hard coded into our like collective unconsciousness.
Okay, so to kind of end things, I'm going to just talk about some significant episode about the Smurfs run, because as I said, they ran for 9 seasons. So the Astro Smurf, which is the first ever episode of the Smurfs which aired. We have the Purple Smurfs, which is an adaptation of the first ever solo Smurf story.
Wait, so what happened with the purple Smurfs? Are they like anti-Smurfs? Or are they like a nation that they hate?
No, they are a regular Smurf who. The episode begins with a kind of insect who bites one of the Smurfs in the tail, and that insect makes that Smurf into a purple Smurf, and so he's kind of acting like a zombie, you can say.
So it's a zombie episode, all right.
Yeah, one difference between this episode and the comic book versions is that in the comic the Smurfs turned black, while in the episode they turn purple.
Probably a good change.
And then we have the 100th Smurf. If I said before that the Smurfs are 99 Smurfs, but to get away from some kind of disaster, they need 100 Smurf to do a specific dance. So this episode introduces 100 Smurf, which is Vanity's reflection, if I can say that.
Wait, how? So the reflection becomes an official Smurf?
Yes, in some weird way it does. Karol, just accept it. It's so Smurfy.
Yeah, let's just forget about it.
and then we have the Smurfette, which is the episode which introduce or shows the creation of Smurfette and how she was created by Gargamel to be a spy, and then she really liked the Smurfs, and then she became a Smurf with Papa Smurf magic. Yeah. Then we have the Clockwork Smurf, which Handy creates a Smurf who is mechanical, and that mechanical Smurf later on in the show starts to live in a village with humans, which has a kingdom of some kind.
Okay.
And then we have the Cursed Country, which, if you remember what I said before, that the Smurf first appeared in a Yuan and Peewit comic.
Yeah.
This episode introduces Yuan and Peewit in the Smurfs cartoon.
Did they ever get their own series?
They had their own, no, not TV series, but a lot of apparently a lot of season 2 episodes were focused on those two characters.
So, Baby Smurf's first appearance. Explain to me.
Once upon the blue moon, Baby Smurf's first appearance on the show. In season 3, a stork comes in with a baby Smurf, which all the Smurfs were kind of confused. Why has there come a baby into our village? But in the episode they kind of grow attached to this baby. But later on in the episode they find out that, oh, this isn't our baby, it's another Smurf village that it was supposed to get this baby from the stork, but the stork got it to the wrong village. But baby Smurf stays in this Smurf village because he grew attached to those Smurfs.
So they just stole a baby.
Well, they returned the Smurf to that village, but that other Smurf village did send this baby Smurf back.
Wow.
Okay. So apparently Smurfs come from storks.
I mean, let me just think about it. I'm stretching because I have just so many emotions about this information.
Oh, are you lazy, Smurf?
I guess I am. I still have so many things to do today. But I'm just thinking of. I mean, like, we weren't expecting anything more than just baby comes by stork.
Mm. Let's see, then we have Handy's Sweetheart, which Handy Smurfs get a mermaid girlfriend, you can say.
Cool.
And then we have the Pussy Willow's Pixies.
And what are they named like that?
I don't know, Carol. It's just so Smurfy.
It's gonna get all in that Smurf. What is happening? This is Smurfs. I shouldn't be this raunchy.
Apparently, this is an episode which Peyo didn't really like. He didn't really like the creation of these pixies, but apparently Clumsy gets a pixie girlfriend.
A manic pixie girlfriend, alright.
Well, she never appears in another episodes, but yeah.
She's just a little bit off camera. She's always there. She's just always missing.
And then we have the episode Puppy, and this, which is an episode where the Smurfs gets a puppy. Which is a bit weird because the puppy is bigger than every Smurf. Then we have the episode The Smurflings, which is kind of the introduction of the kids Smurfs, I guess. So 3 adult Smurfs, through some shenanigans, gets turned into Smurf kids. And then they get a 4th member, Sazette, while with kind of doing the same thing that created Smurfette.
So they basically turn children into Smurfs.
No, they were not human kids, Carol. They were always Smurfs. It was just that those 3 adult Smurfs got turned into kids.
Oh, okay.
And then we have the Smurf Quest, which is a 4-part episodes where it introduces Grandpa Smurf. And if I can read the summary, Grandpa Smurf returns from a 500-year voyage around the world to restore the power of the Long Life Stone. He, Papa Smurf, Hefty, Handy, Greedy, and Sazette travel to find the purest sources of the 4 primal elements from around the world: earth, air, water, and fire, and are followed by Gargamel, while the Smurfs that stayed behind dig all over the village to find the Long Life Stone.
Alright, so all of these episodes are like introducing new characters and new concepts to the series.
Yeah, at least the episode which I'm kind of talking about noticeable episodes, because I guess it kind of is noticeable when a new character appears.
Yeah, like it's quite noticeable, in fact.
And then we have the Wild Smurf, which introduces Wild Smurf. And then we have Lost Smurf, who introduces Grandma Smurf. And one thing that is interesting about Grandma is she is a female Smurf, and she isn't created by Gargamel for once. So apparently there actually exist female Smurfs.
So it's just an all-male commune for men.
Yeah, exactly, Carol.
Which is also alright. Sometimes a family can just be 99 men.
And then we have the Smurf that time forgot. So in season 9, some Smurfs leave the village, leave the village and time travels throughout the whole season. So they are in different time periods each episode, you can say. And the thing is that the 9th season is kind of also the season that I guess jumped the shark, and it wasn't really that popular of a season, and the show kind of was cancelled after that. And the thing with it being cancelled is that the Smurf that were on this time travel adventure, there wasn't an episode where they returned home. So the show kind of ends with them still time traveling around.
Jeez, okay, so they're just stuck in like time traveling.
Yeah, and then there were some specials made about the Smurf, like the Springtime special. There was also a Christmas special and other holiday themed specials. And then we have the Smurfic Games, which is kind of like the Olympic Games but a Smurf version.
Okay.
And then we have Smurfy Ever After, which is a wedding special
But it's
with
not even about the Smurfs, so who's getting married?
well, Larconia, which is a character that appeared in one of the episodes which I was talking about before. She was the sign language girl.
Oh, okay, makes sense.
So she is apparently getting married. And that was the notable episode about the Smurfs. How Smurfy.
As I said, I had a Smurftastic time watching the Smurfs overthrow a government, and it's kind of neat that you outlined all the like the most important events in the series with the summary.
Mm. So I guess we have heard enough of the Smurf. As I said, it's a cartoon that I kind of enjoy. I guess I like the medieval theme and this kind of cartoon about these creatures with different personality and all the fun magical stuff they get into.
Yeah, I mean, it's silly. It's just a little dudes doing little stuff, and that's the premise. And I feel like
Mm.
that's good enough.
I'm actually kind of surprised of how much I still enjoy the show because it has never been one of my favorite things, but it's kind of just stayed around for me in the exact same place of where I found it good and still fun. But it has never been beyond or down from that position.
But I feel like maybe it's just because the show is good. Like it's a good cartoon. Therefore, it like I guess I have to watch more of the episodes. But if the show is good, it probably like and if the show is good, it probably holds up well.
Mm. As I said, it isn't even in my top 20, but I just keep getting back to the Smurfs.
And I say that's smurfing good.
So, thank you for listening to our Smurf special episode on this podcast. I hope you had a Smurftastic time.
Don't forget to smurf us on socials like Twitter, and smurf you again in the next episode. And have a smurftastic day. Goodbye.
Smurf.